Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Gamefromscratch, and the wait for Godot is over, especially if you're waiting for Godot 4.6. It is finally available here after a number of betas, a couple of release candidates. We are ready to go. Now, I've covered this all the way through the development cycle. I'm going to focus on a couple of the new features, and then we will jump into the incredibly nice release notes. They've really upped their release note game recently. What you see in front of you, this is Godot 4.6. By the way, this is Godot 4.5. The one thing you're going to immediately notice is it looks more than a little bit different. You got different spacing, you different coloring, different fonts, and so on. That is because we have switched over to the passive star theme, which is now built in, but it is now called the modern theme. The previous theme, this theme right here, is still available as well, but I do like this. I've installed the passive star theme for a very long time, so it is nice to see it available out of the box. I just think it gives you nice contrast and visual clarity between the two systems. On top of that, there have been a number of updates to the editor itself. One of the things that you found is down here, these bottom docks have always been a little limited in what you can do, and they are still honestly quite limited. But if you wanted to say the animation tools down here, what you can now do is right click it, and you got the ability to float these out. Now, hopefully, eventually we get the ability to dock them anywhere, although these almost always rely on a that would be horizontal layout. By the way, you click it again and it docks back down there. So it's not perfect yet, but it's definitely giving us more control over how our UI is set up. And if you're using a multiple monitor setup, you can easily undock these things and move them over however you want. So a little bit more control there as well. On top of that, we've got some graphical changes as well. In 4.6 on Windows, it's moved from Vulkan being the default to Direct3D 12 simply because driver support tend to be better. Another thing you're going to notice right away from a graphical perspective, there's been a number of changes. For one, they've added a brand new algorithm for subsurface screen space reflections, by the way. That we will show you in the release notes in just a second with a wonderful example of showing that in action. But they also rewrote the way that glows work. So here you can see this scene, and let's go back over here to this particular scene. And this is Godot 4.5 with a glow effect turned on. There you can see the effect of the glow there. Now you see Godot 4.6 turn said glow on, and you can see a much better or more accurate result because of the way that glows are now calculated and where they are calculated in the rendering process. On top of that, we have a couple of other changes graphically. One of them is in tone mapping. So for example, here, I can now switch to AGX tone mapping, and you're going to notice there's now AGX white balance is an option that's available to you. Same with contrast. So if you're using an HDR workflow, this should help transition you towards that. If you're using the AGX tone mapping, you got a bit more fine-tuned control over what's going on. Now, there's a couple of other really cool new UI tweaks. So for example, let's go ahead and create a new scene here, type 3D scene, then go back over to our other tab over here. What you can now do is pick something in the world. Let's say, example, I want to grab a chair. So I can pick this chair and I could drop it into the world like so. But let's say I want to put it into another tab. Well, now you can hover a different tab and drop it in accordingly. That is really cool functionality. On top of that, we have a little bit of a change with the way that things work here. So I'm going to show you something. I'm going to make this guy local right there, and I'm going to hide all the other LODs. So we only care about LOD 0, right? So what you can now do is I could come in and pick anything. So this could be a mesh, text on screen, a font, a texture, or whatever. But anything you're working with the quick load, like over here, quick load, you're now going to have this new option down here where you can do an instant preview of the results. So notice we've got our chair there. We can swap it out and then immediately see the other option there. So you get this quick preview of it in action. That is a very cool new feature there. Again, you could toggle it down with instant preview down below. Now, on top of that, one thing you'll notice here is when you look at the transform gizmo, we also have this one. Specifically to rotation, there is this new rotation gizmo out there. This will do the rotation aligned to your viewport or your camera. That's a nice new improvement. On top of that, if you're doing transforms, you're going to notice transforms has changed as well in that they've actually split them out. So you're going to see over here, the transform widget, you've got a number of different options there, but you've got the straight transform widget there, and you've also got the selection widget. So if you want to just select things, you can work with it there, and then this has been named to transform. So if you want, before it was like you could kind of stumble over which one you wanted to work with. Now you have multiple different options, should be just nicer to work with in general. Now, there is a ton more to it. They changed the way that arrays are rendered on screen. They made it so that if you drag and drop something into a code, it will automatically create exports, stuff like that. But now let's just head on over to the release notes and take a look at what else is in this release. And once again, I got to applaud the Godot Foundation. They've upped their release note game. It's much nicer to work with right now. So this is the new release. What are the highlights of this particular release? Again, of course, we have that new theme in place as the default theme. It is called Modern. Once again, the previous theme is still available, but I do think that this is cleaner, has nicer spacing, whatever. Personal opinion, though, if you want to go back to the old way, you can. Another thing that they've done is they've made Jolt physics the default. So this was integrated, was it 4.2, the first version of it? No, they integrated it as an option in 4.4. I thought it was older than that. Now it is actually the default. So this is, again, used in AAA games level. Like, it's a very well-received 3D physics engine. You can now have it on as default. By the way, you could switch back to the previous version if you wish in the project settings. Again, the docking, so you now can make floatable of the docks and panels. So if you've got multiple monitors, you're definitely going to like that. Still a little bit more work to do, but it's a nice step, especially for those bottom panels. Now, this is something I did a dedicated video on, so I'm not going to cover it in depth here, but this was a feature that was removed back in Godot 3.6-ish, and it was not in any version of Godot 4, but they've been on a number of rewrites in the animation system, and now Inverse Kinematics has returned. So Inverse Kinematics basically flips the way that bones and such do animation. So basically, instead of, the shoulder moving the lower arm, moving the hand, you can actually just grab the hand and it will move all the other bones that are in that chain. I also did a dedicated video about this. So if you want to learn more about this particular change, I do have something in much more depth, which also explains exactly how Inverse Kinematic actually works. So that is a nice addition into Godot that is now built in. And this one's really nice. So this is the updated, so they completely rewrote the screen space reflections now. You've got a choice between half and full resolution modes, and you can see it in action right here. So you're going to turn it off in a second and then turn it back on. So there you can see the results fit. You see the reflections that you're getting in there. So complete overhaul of the screen space reflections algorithms there, which is nice to see. So what else do we have? In the core, so unique IDs now have unique internal IDs for everything. This is also a biggie. It's hard to demonstrate on screen, but you can now use Godot as a library. libgodot. So if you want to build your own application using Godot features behind it, like it basically consuming Godot as if it was a library like SDL or SFML, that kind of thing, you can now do so. On top of that, signals that start with an underscore will now be hidden. You've now got rotatable scene tiles. This is the change of the selection there. So they decoupled the select and transform modes. There is now a dedicated select mode. The old select mode has been renamed to transform mode. There is a new select only mode. Makes it a lot easier to work with. And again, you have that new gizmo for rotations that will be relative to the viewing axis on the outside over there. And then we've got Bresenham line algorithms for grid map drawing. So this one is a bit of a specialized one. Used more for people doing building their own tools, etc. there. You also, if you're working with controls, you can now place the pivot for them easily enough. They separated mouse and keyboard focus, so mouse or trackpad will no longer force the blue focus outline to appear as you would expect it when you're navigating with a gamepad or keyboard, so you decide how you want to handle that. Visual feedback for merging container nodes, then a number of smaller changes to the editor that are available. Like I said earlier on, things like you can drag a resource in and it'll automatically create an export variable in your GD script, etc. So a bunch of little tweaks to the user interface as well. Then again, we have that new drag and drop. It didn't just work on tabs like this, it also works on any of the tabs like over here. If you want to switch them over to the inspector, etc. That is going to be it's a little thing, but it's going to be a massive time saver for a lot of people. Clickable files in the output panel. So you can now pop up an offending script or resource by clicking on it inside of the error. It will automatically bring you to the appropriate error. Then again, a small change is going to make a big difference in how things are working, like how your workflow is. Again, live preview, we saw that in action right there. You can see working with fonts and so on. We did it earlier on with a full 3D model. Changes to the animation system, including you can set the length of an animation just by dragging it, as opposed to having to do math and calculating it and figuring it out accordingly. Number of little improvements to the animation editor as well. Then for exports, you now have the ability to delta encoding of patches, so you can only distribute what actually changed between your versions if you are using your own self-updater. For the most part, people aren't going to deal with this because most online stores, Steam, Android, etc., all have some kind of this functionality built in. But if you're doing your own patching, that is built in out of the box. Added custom keyboard shortcuts through the editor settings. We also have the ability on, I think it's just PlayStation devices, but you can now set the color of it using the simple set joy light color. Nice little feature there. Improvements to the way that LODs work. So it now generates LODs that better preserve the shape of the original object. You can see an example of it there. I don't show us, this one used to show the before and afters of it, but it basically, your LODs, especially when you're going down to very small polygon counts, are more representative of the object that they deal with. And then we got changes to the glowing. So glow is now blended before tone mapping with screen as the default mode. This corrects the order and improves the visual results with at least similar or outright better performance to what was there before. And again, this is a step towards having HDR support. Speaking of HDR support, we also now have, again, in AGX, the AGX white and contrast values being exported out. Octahedral maps for reflections and radiance probes, so that makes them cheaper to compute for your GPU and lighter on memory. We also have this banding if you're using the mobile renderer. You can see the results of it right here. See the color banding in the background? So it's going to smooth out that banding and get rid of that. This is available, I think, only on the mobile renderer right now. Yeah, mobile renderer only for this one, but that new feature is available there. Improves comma-separated value translation and support for template generations, also for the way that translations are parsed inside of C#. Then we got some platform-specific things, XR support, editor support for Android XR devices, OpenXR 1.1 support, and so on. And then in platforms, this one's kind of neat for Android. STR copy is now available. Basically, it's a way of mirroring your screen to run it on the device. So if you're debugging it, you can run it on your Android device, but you can actually see it running directly on your screen of your computer. So you can also test different screen sizes and multiple apps on the same device using this system. It still runs natively on an Android device, but it's displaying on your screen. It's kind of a cool new feature. Android Gradle build update, build integration is there. So you can use Android projects using Gradle directly from the editor. I think this is mostly for if you're dealing with additional plugins, etc., that you want to deal with. You don't have to jump into external tools, etc., to handle that. They also now have support for the storage access framework. So it's a way of loading files without having to ask for certain granularity of permissions you might have had to before. Again, on Windows, Direct3D 12 is a new default renderer that comes mostly down to device driver type stuff. And then for physics, starting with Godot 4, whenever your mesh is simple, geometric shape like a box, sphere, a cylinder, capsule, or another supported primitive, you can now automatically generate a matching collision shape 3D. That's going to be like just a nice little time saver there as well. GD extensions, we've got some improvements here as well. If you are creating plugins, including JSON-based GD extension interface there, GD script got some improvements. There is now the ability to step out while debugging. It makes it easier to get out of, if you're in a function, something goes wrong, you want to jump out to where the caller was. That functionality is now available there. We also have support for Tracy, the debugger there. It gives you a ton of information, sometimes too much, but for profiling, that functionality is there for various different profilers, but Tracy is definitely one of them. GD script, language server process improvements to BB code and markdown conversions. String placeholders now jump out a lot more, such as these markers of %S, %D, and so on. And then that is it. At least that is what is highlighted. There's actually a bunch more in this release that were covered here, but I think that covers definitely the high level stuff. So that is Godot 4.6. Let me know what you think. Comments down below. I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.